Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing some Bujin test hands. So I'm really excited for this one because this is a completely amazing OTK based deck that has just been totally turned on its head. It's a really amazing deck that can actually summon out some really amazing boss monsters to be able to OTK your opponent. But it used to be a control based deck where you play like 3 Solemn Judgment, 3 Solemn Strikes, and some control traps in the deck to kind of summon out Yamato, and those days are over. You don't play that anymore, that build anymore. You actually play this OTK build, which is amazing. You can still make some decks, some ways to actually make it a control-based deck, but it's so cool to actually make it an OTK-based deck based around summoning out your copy of your Bujin Typhoon, which is an amazing boss monster. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for some test hands, guys. But don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name searched for every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck really quick, and we're going to go ahead and pile shuffle it to see what we can do for our first test hand, because this deck is really consistent because you have so many different ways to get to that monster. It's very important. I will say to you guys though, this deck does a lot better going second. You might see a very weak going first hand, but a very strong going second hand, because it does lack the going first build, because the going first build is the Yamato build and the going second build is the Typhoon build, which there is actually very interesting that you can build 2 different builds based around Bujins now, which is kind of cool. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the first hands. We're going to go ahead and shuffle, draw into a Bujin Carnation, double or nothing. That's a little bit unfortunate. We drew into the double or nothing, Call by the Grave, Typhoon, and a copy of Amaterasu. So this is totally fine. We draw into the Typhoon, that's fine. So if you're going first, you're going to use the copy of your Typhoon to be able to normal summon it to your side of the field, and then you can immediately tribute this card on your side of the field. And then if your opponent tries to hand trap you, you do have the copy of the Call by the Grave. So the really cool thing about this card, if you're unfamiliar with what it does, it treats itself as cost to be able to special summon 2 Bujin monsters with different types from your deck in defense position, except another copy of itself. And then when you XZ summon a Bujin XZ monster with this card in the graveyard, you can equip this card to it, and any battle damage that is, or any monster destroy a battle with the equipped monster is banished instead, which is really cool. So you can actually just immediately tribute it, and you have the Call by the Grave to stop your opponent if they do try and hand trap you. And you can immediately special summon to your side of the field 2 different Bujin monsters that you feel are going to come in handy the most. For example, stopping your opponent from targeting with the effect of your Bujin Hare or Turtle, which is pretty cool. These 2 are the ones that I usually go for, is your Hare or your Turtle first. It depends on which one you feel like you're playing against. If you feel like you're playing against something that is going to activate a lot of card effects, because during your player's turn, when a card effect is activated that targets a Bujin monster you control, you can banish the card from the graveyard instead, or you can use your copy of Hare, because during either player's turn, you can banish this card from the graveyard to target a Beast Warrior monster Bujin you control, and once during the turn, it cannot be destroyed by battle by card effects, so you can prevent the destruction or prevent targeting. Usually, I go for the Hare because it's the safer bet to prevent destruction from like a Lightning Storm or a copy of Raigeki or something like that, or even being destroyed by like battle or something. It's still really good to throw that one out on your side of the field, and then I kind of back it up with any of my other Bujin monsters that's a Beast Warrior. You can special summon out like a Haruka. Haruko is kind of cool to be able to special summon to your side of the field. It doesn't super matter whichever one you special summon out to your side of the field. You're just trying to get one of them out on the field because you're immediately going to XZ summon into a Susanoo. So you're going to go ahead and overlay these 2 on your side of the field, go for the Susanoo, and then immediately equip the copy of Typhoon to it. And then you can kind of bait your opponent out if you want to by setting out a copy of the Carnation on your side of the field. The Carnation is not going to super help you that much, because if your opponent controls a monster and you control no monsters, so you can kind of just bait them out with this card. If they do get past the copy of Susanoo, you can activate it next turn. But at this point, you're pretty much going to pass, and at the end phase, once per turn, you can detach, or actually that's Yamato that does that. This one's during any time during the phase. So before you end your turn, you can detach material from this card to take a Bujin monster from the deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and detach the Hare, because the Hare is the one that we want in the graveyard, and you can at this point kind of pick and choose which ones you want. You can make another XZ play if you want to go into another XZ play. It's kind of up to you, or you can just send a Bujin like a copy of Turtle to give you kind of ultimate protection. It's kind of up to you. You can add a copy of, say, the new one that looks like Pegasus from your deck to your hand if you want an additional special summon, because you either send a Bujin from your hand to the graveyard, or you send another Bujin from your hand to the graveyard to immediately special summon it, and then you can also banish a Bujin from your graveyard to send a different Bujin from your deck to the graveyard. I wouldn't recommend grabbing this one and adding it from deck to hand. If you're going first, you can set up a little bit with being able to send from your deck to the graveyard something like a copy of maybe like the turtle to be able to protect you is going to be the best bet. Or if you want to go in for more plays, you can actually send from your deck to the graveyard, or you can add from deck to hand a copy of Harume, because then you can just special summon out this and the Harume to get you an additional rank 4, which is another option for you guys if you want to go that route. But going first, this is going to be one of your safest plays to be able to go into is your Susanoo in attack position, and then you're going to back it up with the Typhoon with the copies of your Hare and your Turtle kind of backing it up. So once you pass turn, if your opponent doesn't out this card, you're going to immediately draw, which is going to be the new Bujin card. And then at this point, if you did at any point have to banish one of these from the graveyard, you're going to be able to special summon out your copy of your Amaterasu to your side of the field, which is going to help you out even more. And then if you can just normal summon out your copy of your other Bujin monster, you can then overlay both of these on your side of the field to go into a copy of Tsukiyomi. So Tsukiyomi is going to help you out a lot in this particular scenario because you can detach the materials from him and then be able to discard your entire hand. So we're going to go ahead and detach the new Bujin monster from our copy of our Tsukiyomi to be able to discard a card and be able to draw 2, which is going to get us additional plays into a Nibiru and a Gamma, which again are not going to be super helpful, but you still have the plays with the Susanoo to be able to attack multiple times, which is super cool. But you also have the ability that you can detach the other card off of this card to be able to grab or send from the deck to the graveyard another Bujin card, which at this point you're probably going to grab Crane to start swinging at your opponent, because the Crane is going to double the attack of the Susanoo to 48, which is going to help you out a lot in this particular hand, because you're going to get into some really cool plays, especially when you start swinging with the copy of the Susanoo, because this has the ability that you can discard this card, and if a Beast Warrior type Bujin monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you send this card to the graveyard, and the attack of that monster becomes double its original attack during that damage calculation only. So it can help you punch through one monster, which is kind of cool, and gets you additional plays. So that's pretty much it for your first hand. That is going first. You didn't draw into a lot of hand traps, but you did draw into the Typhoon, and you did summon out the copy of Susanoo. To show you guys, you do kind of turbo out the Susanoo a little bit faster than Yamato in this particular build. You only play one Yamato in this entire build, which is kind of crazy to me, because like that card used to be the pivotal point of this deck, and now it's just not. Like, you don't super need it. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can do for another test hand to see what we can pull off. And again, you had the reincarnation, the Bujin Carnation set, that if your opponent did board wipe, you could then go into your copy of Susanoo again, which would be kind of neat. But let's go ahead and see what we can do for another test hands. We're going to go ahead and shuffle up the deck right there, and then we're going to draw for turn into Yamato. He shows his face. We're going to draw into a Typhoon as well, which is pretty much kind of the old school, now the new one. A Tenki, which is also really good, Harume, and another Harume. So the Harumes aren't super helpful in this scenario because you're not going to be able to banish the special summon, but the copy of Tenki does come in handy because you can just immediately drop the copy of Tenki from your hand to be able to add from deck to hand your copy of your Amaterasu. Now the Amaterasu is going to get you more plays. I will say, let's just say that we did go second. Let's actually take that back, and let's say we did go second. I want to show you guys exactly what you can do if you do happen to go second. For our 6th card, for our draw card, you're going to get an Ash. We're just going to immediately discard this. This is going second. We're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Tenki. This is going to show you guys how easy it is to OTK. You're actually going to add the copy of Tenki from deck to hand. Once you add the Tenki, you're going to add a copy of Amaterasu. So once you add the Amaterasu from deck to hand, you then can normal summon out the copy of your Typhoon. The Typhoon is going to be able to tribute itself. Now, if you get ashed at this point, you're going to be in a real bad position, but, you know, it's whatever. It's kind of like the risk you run when you play a deck like this. So then we're going to special summon out the copy of Hare, and you're going to special summon out a copy of another Bujin Beast Warrior, which you can special summon out the one that looks like Pegasus if you want to here. It's not a big deal, kind of up to you which one you special summon. And then after you summon out these two, you're going to overlay them both, and you're going to summon out a copy of Utopia Double. So Utopia Double is going to come out right here, and then you're going to detach the copy of the hair to be able to then add from deck to hand a copy of Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing is going to help you out a lot because it's going to help you OTK your opponent in the fastest way possible. So then we're going to immediately throw on top of it a copy of Utopia, which is actually going to come out at 5,000, which is very important to keep in mind that it's going to come out at 5,000, not at 2,500. And then at this point, you can use your copy of your Harume to banish from your graveyard your copy of your Trifoon to be able to special summon to your field. And since you banished a Bujin, you can actually special summon out your copy of your Matarasu, because if a Bujin monster you control or Bujin in your graveyard or face from your side of the field is banished, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if this card in once per turn during an end phase of a Bujin is added from your deck to your hand, this turn, except by drawing it, while you control this card, you can also draw a card. So you're going to immediately special summon this card to our side of the field, and then we're going to link these two monsters away for a copy of Pentastag on our side of the field, and now your Utopia Double does piercing damage as well, so you can just attack into your opponent with the copy of the Utopia, detach the material from it, and then once you detach a material from it, you can then drop the copy of Double or Nothing to be able to attack again for 10,000, and it does piercing as well because of the Pentastag. So if your opponent does leave you a wide opening with the Pentastag, you can summon that as well. If they didn't leave you an opening with the Pentastag, you can make an XZ play instead of just attacking into your opponent. You can make some other plays instead, which is kind of cool. You can actually overlay these two and summon out something else if you want to go that route. Like a copy of Tornado Dragon to kind of make it so your opponent can pop spells or traps. So before you attack, if you think your opponent's playing battle traps, that's going to be a better route. You can actually double the attack of your Utopia Double to 10,000 before you even swing. If you're going to leave something that's bigger than 2,000, I highly recommend that you summon this. If they leave something in defense position, you can summon out the Pentastag instead. It kind of depends on which one you want to go for. This one does piercing. This one doubles the attack again, which is kind of neat. So you can just detach these materials, and then it's going to let you attack again with 10,000 instead. So this is now at 10,000 instead for the copy of number 60. And then you swing, you drop the copy of your Bujin, and then you drop the copy of Double or Nothing, and you're going to swing for 20,000 into a monster, which is pretty much going to guarantee you an OTK if they left literally anything in attack position, which is going to be really cool about this particular hand. So you have a couple of options, either piercing or double it, quadruple the attack points is pretty much what you're going to do, as long as you can special summon out 4 monsters going second, which is the big play of this deck. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for some more test hands. So you pretty much do summon Susanoo going first, and you summon out your copy of Utopia Double plus a Pentastag or number 60 to OTK during the second turn. So it's kind of up to you what you kind of want to go for. Usually I go for the Pentastag because usually my opponent's throwing something in defense position. So it does come up where they want to throw something in defense position, and I'm just like, cool, I'm just going to punch through it. So it kind of depends on what they're doing. It depends on the kind of scenario that you need to go for. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for the next one. We're going to draw into a copy of Harume, copy of Ash, a copy of Yugioh, Monster Reborn, and a copy of Haruka. So this is an okay hand. It's totally fine. You don't have all that many crazy plays. Again, I'm going to show you guys. It's a weak going first hand. It's a very weak going first hand. You're going to be able to set a copy of a 2,000 defender, and that's going to be it. When you pass and your opponent tries to add stuff, you're gonna be able to go into this, and then they're going to destroy this. And the only unfortunate thing about this card is it does go to the extract. So if you don't want to summon that one, you can actually summon this one in face down defense if you feel like your opponent's going to punch through it, because then you give your Harume another fodder to be able to kind of go into plays, and you have the Monster Born, so you probably want to go for that one instead of the Haruka to set. So once you go ahead and pass, back to you. This is turn 3 now. We're going to go ahead and draw for turn into the Gamma, which is going to help us out a little bit because you can drop the copy of Monster Reborn. And if your opponent does, in fact, hit you with like a copy of Ghost Spell, you have the Gamma that you can actually hit them with the Gamma if they Ghost Spell you, where they try and hand trap you from the Monster Reborn. So you have some plays there as well, which is kind of neat. So you're going to special summon out your copy of Yugioh back from the graveyard, normal summon out the Haruka, and then you're going to overlay both of these into a copy of, say, for example, you can throw out a copy of Susanoo, you can throw out a copy of another XZ monster. It's not super pivotal which one you grab, but the Susanoo is going to be the big play that's going to help you out the most because it's going to get you into 2 XZ monsters. So you then can detach the copy of Yugioh from this monster, and then you're going to add from your deck to your hand a copy of, you would think, think like a new one that looks like Pegasus or the Typhoon, but you're actually going to add from deck to hand the Amaterasu, because the Amaterasu is going to be able to go off, because when you activate the Harume to banish the Sinyo, you then special summon a Harume, and then you special summon Amaterasu right behind it, and then you overlay both of these on your side of the field to go for an additional play, which can be a Utopia double to OTK your opponent, which then you can overlay a Utopia just by detaching a material from this card, and then you can grab from your deck to your hand the double or nothing, and then you can swing with your copy of Utopia double to deal them a lot of damage with the copy of the Utopia, and then once you swing with the copy of the Utopia doing the 10,000, you can then swing with your copy of Susanoo as well for 2,400, which is pretty cool to kind of clean up the rest of the field, which is really, really good just to kind of be able to go into all those different plays as well. So let's go ahead and do one more test hand for you guys. As you guys can see, this deck does some very simplistic plays in what it's trying to achieve, which is kind of cool. What's really cool is when you do win the die roll and you go second, which is what's really important, you will OTK your opponent most likely, which is what's really neat about this deck. It's a lot of fun to be able to OTK with this deck because you can just go into so many different plays. So let's go ahead and shuffle the deck up really quick and see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up right there, cut the deck really quick, and then we're going to go ahead and see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and draw in a copy of Sinyo, Harume, a copy of Hair, a copy of Typhoon, and a copy of Ash. So this is fine for opening hand because you have the copy of the Typhoon. So if you're going first, you can normal summon out the Typhoon. Regardless if you go first or second, you're going to normal summon this out. Depends on what you go for after that. Depends on what you, if you went first or second. So if you're going first, you're going to summon out the copy of the Typhoon regardless, or second, you're going to tribute that monster. If you get Ashed, it's going to be a little bit unfortunate. You're probably going to get OTK'd, but hey, that's the kind of the problem with Bujins. You're then going to special summon from the deck. I usually special summon out him in defense position. And then since we have the copy of Hair in hand, you can actually special summon Turtle. If you want to special summon out the Turtle, because you only play one of each, which is kind of important to keep in mind as you play through the deck. So we're going to shuffle up the deck again really quickly. And then we're going to go ahead and you can make a couple of different plays here. It's kind of up to you. You can go ahead and overlay both of these and summon out a copy of your, where is it? Your copy of your Susanoo. Susanoo is then going to be able to detach for the copy of Turtle. And then you're going to add from deck to hand another copy of a Bujin card or send it to the graveyard. You can kind of give your opponent like a warning with the copy of the Crane, or you can do what I like to do and add the copy of the Amaterasu from deck to hand with the Harume, because then you're going to be able to banish a Bujin monster from the graveyard, which is the Typhoon, which you can, if you want to, attach the copy of the Typhoon here instead, which is a little bit of a better play, and then banish the Turtle to be able to then special summon the Harume. Or you can actually keep it this way and keep this card attached here and actually detach this for the search instead, and then special summon out the Harume, so then you still have the copy of the Turtle where it didn't get banished. Special summon out the copy of the Amaterasu and then overlay these two monsters. And if you haven't asked your opponent, you can kind of just go for the copy of the Tsukuyomi in defense position. And the Tsukuyomi is going to get you more plays because you're going to detach a material from this card, and then you're going to ditch your hand, which is fine if you ditch the copy of the Ash because you're going to get to draw two. The Ash doesn't do you all that much good in this opening hand. So we're going to go ahead and draw a new copy of Haruka, another Ash, you only get to draw two, excuse me. I went for three. I was like, oh, 3 for 3, cool. So you're going to get the copy of the Haruka, and then you can immediately activate the Haruka and use its effect to be able to banish this card from your Pendulum Zone to be able to target a Bujin monster and make a different Bujin on top of it. So you can actually target the Susanoo, or not the Susanoo, but the copy of Tsukuyomi to make your copy of your Amaterasu, which is pretty cool. I like to be able to summon Amaterasu as well, because the Amaterasu is going to give you a lot of different advantage with this card, because it lets you during your turn. You can only use it to control one of this, and then once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach return this card and apply the effect depending on the turn players. If it's your turn, you get to target a banished Bujin monster that's level 4 or lower and special summon that target. So you can just immediately detach this and special summon back your copy of your other Bujin monster that looks like Pegasus, and then you can actually use his effect to be able to send a Bujin from your hand to the graveyard to add a Bujin with a different name, or banish a Bujin from the graveyard to send a Bujin with a different name from the grave. So you can actually banish your copy of your Harume to then use your copy of your Bujin on the field to be able to send a copy of, say, for example, Quillin now, because the Quillin is going to get you more plays, or Centipede. It's kind of up to you which one you want to send. The Quillin or the Centipede is the only two real good targets that you have left. This is basically MST, and this basically pops a card on the field, which is kind of neat. I usually send the Quillin first instead of the Centipede, because the Centipede is great and all, but this card literally targets anything, where its Centipede only targets monsters. So you have all these cards in graveyard to be able to kind of help you out, because basically your copy of your Quillin and your Senyo and your Hair are going to give you all sorts of different effects by banishing themselves from the graveyard. And then you also have the copy of the Ash in the hand, and you have the copy of the Susanoo and the Amaterasu on your field as well. So when your opponent goes to their turn, you can actually detach another material to target one of your banished level 4 Bujins and add it back to your hand. So if there's one that you wanted back, like your copy of your Amaterasu instead of your Harume, I like to grab the copy of the Harume back, because then you can just do this with your copy of your Amaterasu to detach this and then immediately grab back the Harume to reuse during the next turn. It's just going to kind of give you that advantage that the copy of the Amaterasu does, which is really cool. And then the copy of the Susanoo is kind of just a beat stick at this point. So if your opponent does go through this field, you'll be okay probably, because if you draw into any normal summon, you'll be fine, which is a Crane. So you'll still fine. You can still make a Utopia double and swing at your opponent. And you have the copy of Ash to throw against your opponent as well. If they don't OTK you, you're probably going to be fine. So that's pretty much it for this particular test hand, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play around with. It's very budget as well. Like, this deck is not super expensive to be able to pick up. For the core, the hand traps is where it starts getting expensive, but the majority of the cards aren't that bad, which is what's really cool about this deck. And it's actually just a really, really fun OTK based deck. So if you guys want to try a really cool OTK based deck that just looks amazing, it's been out for a very long time. They have changed up the deck considerably from what the deck used to be. So now there's like 2 different builds. You can build the old school Yamato build that's basically going to give you the control variant, and then you can build this OTK build where you're just going to be doing like push with the build, which is still really cool. So you guys can have like 2 different builds with this deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely tell what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.